If your home was on the market and didn't sell, you're not alone. To be honest with you, it happens for a lot of different reasons, and most of the time, it's actually not even the house's fault. If you're new here, my name's Spencer Lowe. I'm with United Real Estate Louisville. I've been selling real estate here in Louisville since 2019. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss any of my market updates, buyer and seller tip videos, or just general real estate content that I post on this channel. Also, down in the description, I've got my 7 musts before you list a house in 2026. You're gonna wanna make sure you can go grab that. It's completely free to download, and I've linked it down below. I've also got my cell phone number and a link to schedule a Zoom call, so if it's easier to text, call, or you can just schedule a Zoom call with me down below from that Zoom link if you are thinking about buying or selling this year. With all that being said, let's jump into the video. All right, now before we make any big decisions in terms of what we do next, or before we just throw it back on the market and use the exact same game plan again, we need to understand why the house didn't sell. Was it the price of the house? Was it the presentation? Did it not get enough exposure? Did we just, list it for sale by owner and stick a sign in the yard and we live on a dead-end street that nobody ever drives down? It's probably not going to give you enough exposure to actually sell the house. If only 5 people know the house is for sale, you don't have a big buyer pool. Now, the other thing is the pricing of the house. Now, when you price your house correctly, it competes with houses that are in its league. And what I mean by that is, let's say in a 1 mile radius from your house, look at the 450s. If your house was priced at 450, look at the other 450s. If you're going, okay, well, I can get a significantly nicer house with a garage, maybe a basement or a pool, or it's significantly more updated and upgraded in terms of like it's got a newer HVAC system, a new roof, it's got different things like that, and it's still priced the same as your house, chances are your house was probably overpriced. I don't necessarily care what your neighbor sold for last summer or what your neighbor sold for 2 or 3 months ago. Let's be really honest, your neighbor's house doesn't always match up as a comparable to your house. And here's what I mean by that. When we're looking at comparables to price your house, we take your house for what it is and we look for houses very similar to yours. We're looking bedroom count, bathroom count, square footage, but the most important thing that we're looking at is going to be the build style. When we look at the build style, we're looking from 2-story to 2-story. We're not going to compare a 2-story to a ranch. So if your neighbor's ranch just sold, you've got a 2-story, it doesn't matter what that sold for because we're not even going to take it into account, and most appraisers aren't going to run numbers on the next door neighbors because it wasn't the same build style. So we just need to make sure that when we're looking at what we should list our house at, we're actually comparing it to comparables, not just random houses that are in a neighborhood that happen to sell for a really lofty number, and we want that as well. Everybody wants that as well, but remember that it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison. We need to compare your 2-story to a 2-story or your ranch to a ranch. We can't do a ranch to a split level or a split level to a 2-story. We need to compare the same type of house to the same type of house. So just because it's in the same area of your house doesn't necessarily mean that it's comparable. Even if it's got the bedroom count, bathroom count, and square footage, what really matters is that build style. Now, the other thing that we need to worry about is our presentation of the listing. Did we use cell phone photos the first time, or did we use just real cheap media? We need to make sure that we're doing professional photos and professional videos of the house to make sure we show the house off in the best light possible. When we do this, the reason that we're doing it is because, let's be honest, we've all seen bad pictures of ourselves and it doesn't even look like us, right? Now, when we take pictures of your house, we want to make the house look like the house that people are going to show up to see, because if it looks way better than what it actually looks in person, when people get there, they're going to walk in and be disappointed, and then they're not necessarily going to make any offers because maybe they liked it online, but it looked way better online than it did in person. And vice versa. If your house looks immaculate, but the pictures don't show off how immaculate it looks, chances are it's probably not going to get the same people in the door as if we had the right media for it. So we want to make sure that we're doing professional photos and videos to show off the house into the best light possible and position it well on the market. Now, a couple other things that go into presentation besides just the photos and the videos of it is also going to be focusing on our curb appeal, our staging it, making sure that it's clean, it smells good. We wipe down the baseboards, clean off the ceiling fans, all the stuff that when you're living in the house you might not get to as often as we probably should, but when we go to put it on the market, we really want to make sure that we give a really strong first impression, and cleanliness of the house is going to make a big difference the way the buyers perceive houses. When I walk through a house with a buyer, a lot of times the first thing they nitpick is how clean it is, because let's be honest, nobody wants to buy a house, have to move in and feel like they need to hire professional cleaners to do a deep clean on the house because the baseboards haven't been wiped down in 3 years. Ceiling fans they're worried if they turn on the ceiling fans, it's going to make a dust blizzard because there's just so much dust accumulated on the top of them, right? So we want to make sure that it's clean, it smells good, we've prepped it right in terms of our curb appeal, our staging it, all that stuff, and then we also want to do professional photos and videos to make sure that the house really shows off in the best light possible. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about is going to necessarily be the actual promotion of the house. And when it comes to the promotion of the house, the important thing there is we want to make sure that we're getting enough eyes on it, because let's be honest, nobody can buy the house if nobody knows the house is for sale. If we only know, if 5 people are the only people that know the house is for sale, chances are the house probably isn't going to sell very quick. Now, on the flip side of that, if we get 50,000 people to see the house, now we have a 50,000 an audience of 50,000 people that know that house is for sale. And so then we have a larger audience, and chances are, one of those 50,000 people is going to be interested in coming and taking a look and maybe putting in an offer. But the bigger our audience in terms of our buyer pool, the more people that we can get the house in front of, the better chances we have of actually selling the house. That's why I like to focus on social media ads and not really postcards or newspaper ads or any of this stuff like that. I like to focus on my social media ads because we can get results, we can get in front of thousands of people like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're able to take that video, throw it on there, and then throw a little bit of money behind it and get thousands of people to see it in a matter of a couple days. I've done a couple ads for one house and we got, I think it was 11,000 impressions in the first 48 hours. I've got a video about that and it's on my channel. And then, we've also had a listing that was sitting on the market for 4 days before it sold. It was on the market for only 4 days, and in that 4 days we got over 70,000 impressions on that single house, and that was through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So if you're thinking about selling, you really need to make sure that your agent is going to be pushing it out on social media to get a big buyer pool, because obviously those 70,000 people that saw the house, not every single person in that audience was interested, but throwing it out to 70,000 people gives us a way larger buyer pool of people that could potentially come and buy the house than if we only threw it out to 50 by doing 50 postcards, or maybe 100 by doing postcards. We really want to make sure that we're getting eyes on the house. It's going to give us a bigger audience to potentially have potential buyers in that audience, right? So the more people that we can get the house in front of, the better. It's going to not necessarily increase the sales price of the house, but it's going to increase the ability to sell the house quicker and give us a stronger negotiation standpoint, because let's be honest, when buyers start seeing that the house is getting thousands of views on social media, they start worrying about other buyers looking at the house as well. They're going to make a quicker offer because of that. And then the other thing is, when they make a quicker offer and the house has only been on market for 5, 6, 7 days, we have a stronger negotiation stance than we do at day 90, because if the house has been sitting on the market for 90, 120, 180 days, buyers come in and they go, what's wrong with it? Why is it still on the market? Is it overpriced? Have they done price adjustments? Like, what's going on with it? Why is it still sitting here? And so when we're new to market, or we've only been on the market 7 to 14 days, and we get an offer, we have a really good, strong negotiation stance, because it's not been on market for 80 days, 90 days, 120 days. So we have a lot better leverage for that negotiation if we get it out to people in a large audience as soon as possible when we list that house. So positioning, price it right, prep it right, and make sure that when we do our marketing and promotion of it, we're going to push it out to as many people as we possibly can, so that way we have the biggest buyer pool, and out of that buyer pool we hope that a couple offers come of it. And even if just one offer comes of it, or maybe let's say it sits on the market for 14 days and we start looking at it and we go, okay, well, we really probably should go ahead and do a price adjustment because it's been on the market for 14 days. It hasn't got any showings or offers or anything like that. We've got it in front of 80,000 people, but because we've got it in front of that many people and nobody's even come to look at it, we know that we're really overpriced. On the flip side, if we only get a couple showings but no offers in that first 14 to 30 days on the market, we still know we're overpriced, but not that much, because people were at least willing to come and take a look at it. And then if we get no showings, no offers, or nothing, we know that we're overpriced by a lot, so we need to go ahead and cut it. And then the other thing is, if we get a lot of showings and a couple offers, we probably know that we're right on the market and right on the money when it comes to our pricing, our presentation, and our prep work of the house to actually put that house in front of the right people. Because if we get a couple offers, we can renegotiate them. If we don't like them, we can counter back, we can do different things, but it gives us the at least opens up the door to getting that offer accepted and putting the house under contract. And that's kind of the first step of actually getting the house sold. After you list it, show it in the house, we get the listing contract signed, and then once we go under contract on it, they're doing inspections and stuff like that. Obviously it can fall apart because inspections or appraisals issues and stuff like that, but we really want to make sure that we're getting those offers sooner rather than later, because the longer the house sits on the market, after we hit 90 days, our leverage in terms of negotiating that offer kind of start to fall a little bit. Because think about it, if you're buying a house, you walk into a house that's been listed on the market, it's been sitting there for 90 days, they're still on market, you're probably not going to be giving them their full pricing, full asking price for that listing with great terms, great conditions. You're probably going to try to negotiate it down a little bit, plus you're going to ask for some different things in that offer as well. You might ask for your closing costs, your buyer's agent commission, different things like that can all be asked for in that offer. And when you're sitting there looking at a house that's been on the market for 90 days, you're probably also thinking to yourself that the seller's probably desperate at this point. They probably just want to get rid of it, especially if it's sitting there vacant because the sellers have already probably moved to a new house and this house is still sitting on market. So they probably really just need to get rid of it and be done with the process. So if you're thinking about selling again or trying to relist it, going in it with the same strategy that you had the first time probably isn't necessarily going to work again. We probably need to go ahead and reduce the price a little bit, work on our presentation, our prep work, promote it right, and then try to relist it once we have all the stuff finished up with getting the house, fully ready for the market, reducing the price a little bit and making sure that we've, prepped it right, staged it right, presentation's looking good on it, and we're promoting it right. And once we do all that stuff, we're hoping for different results. But when we put our best foot forward, we're at least going to hopefully get some feedback from buyers and know which way we should take that listing. So if you want help with it, give me a call, shoot me a text, or schedule a free call with me down below. Once again, my name is Spencer Lowe. I'm with United Real Estate Louisville. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell notification before you go. I'll see you in the next one.